You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we're going to talk everything about fitness plus wellness brand. So we have our special guest, Hensley. She is, I must say, she might have to correct me, but I'm going to say she's an expert in this field, in this topic, and she is also a business owner herself. And we're going to learn everything about what she does, everything about fitness, everything about branding and scaling, and also her being the owner of Reboot Fitness Consulting. And that's an agency that we will learn more about in this show, today's episode. So first and foremost, I just want to welcome Hensley to the show and say, how you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. I'm excited to be here.
Man, I'm excited to have you on, man. I know you're busy, so I appreciate you clearing your calendar to talk today. First and foremost, if you could just kind of give the audience a little background, what inspired you to get into fitness and also becoming your own business owner? Yeah.
I think one was entirely intentional and one was entirely unintentional. I, like many, played sports growing up and just always knew I wanted to be in fitness. But at that point, when I was graduating high school and then college, fitness wasn't as large as it is today. And so the opportunities were really becoming an athlete, becoming a personal trainer, or becoming a physical therapist. And since then, obviously, the business has taken off and evolved tenfold. And so being able to merge my passions of fitness with what I'm naturally really good at, which is sales and marketing and scaling brands in a way that feels genuine and organic to the business owners behind them has truly been a dream come true. I was running sales for a large scale fitness company, Club Pilates. They now have, when I left, they had about 800 locations, and that was at the end of 2020. And they've continued to grow. But like many of you, kind of had an epiphany during COVID. At that point, 1 out of 3 fitness studios was closing. And I just felt very pulled personally to bring what I had seen work across thousands of locations to independent studio owners. So the analogy that I always use is typically a fitness enthusiast, whether you're a personal trainer or you own a yoga studio, you're passionate and you're good at that. You're a master of that craft. But we provide the scaffolding and guidance and tools that a franchisor might provide a franchisee to ultimately build your sales funnel and convert this interest that I know that you have in your communities into leads that turn into members, that turn into lifetime members. So in short, we do sales and business modeling for fitness and wellness concepts.
And you have been able to be very successful, to say the least. You also, like you said moments ago, you had experience working for others. What was that like, being able to work up the ladder, so to speak? And obviously you formed Reboot in November 2020, but the previous experience of being in that daily grind, day job, what were some of the things, the valuable lessons that you learned being able to be working for someone else before yourself?
Yeah, loaded question. I don't want to say that I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because I didn't. I knew I wanted to work for myself, but I didn't know that I wanted to turn this into a company. I didn't know that I wanted employees. I actually said in my exit interview that I didn't want to manage a team ever again, and the universe has flipped that on its head, clearly. But I think perhaps the largest thing that I've learned is how to build teams that complement one another and underscore each other's strengths and really are passionate and excited to work for you and for the mission that you stand behind. And I've been lucky enough that every role that I've had in the past, including the one now, I wake up and I'm excited to do it every day. And I really believe in what we stand for and what we're doing and what we're building and the change we're making. And I know that not everyone has that same accountability and the sense that you're making a difference. I think that's what allowed me to be successful organically and move up the food chain, so to speak. But I was climbing the corporate ladder and I kind of felt like I saw the top. And I didn't know if I wanted to touch the top and then be like, what's next? Or if I wanted to, take everything that I knew and bring it to a space that at that point was really floundering. And, hence the name Reboot. I feel that we've really been able to reignite, whether they're business owners that are frustrated with what's not working or those business owners that don't even know where to start in the space, from coming up with a fitness concept or finding a space or what that call, text, and email sequence sounds like once they get a lead, being able to provide that whole operations toolkit and guide has been hyper rewarding. And again, I think I can speak for the rest of my team in saying we all are equally excited to be able to do what we do.
So anyone who is a studio owner, you might want to listen to this show episode and you might want to send it to someone who is in this field, because you're the owner of Reboot Fitness Consulting. The website is rebootfc.com. You're like the dream of any owner out there right now, right? Because you're helping them either get to the next level, or you can better explain. When someone comes to you, they're a studio owner and they need your help. What does that look like as far as the next step on day zero before day one, when you're actually, everyone's a good fit?
Yeah. Great question. And to your point, I wish that I could hire a Reboot for my business sometimes that could just give me that same kind of bulletproof recipe and every single ingredient to carry it out. So there's a reason. I mean, we haven't spent nothing on marketing. We're solely referrals and word of mouth. And I think that's a testament to the difference that we make in our clients' lives. But in short, you as a business owner, and I can speak to this as a small business owner myself, you're wearing a lot of hats, right? Especially if you're a fitness owner, you're likely teaching, you're hiring, you're trying to market or spread the word on your concept or workout. And then you're trying to convert that interest into members. So our goal is to get you back into the seat that you want to be, whether it's growing the business or being the lead trainer or the head instructor, or kind of reminding you of the reason that you got into this business in the first place. And then we fill in all of those gaps, creating a custom, 150-page operations manual, every single call, text, email that anyone will ever get from your brand, really creating that underlying brand strategy of who is your exact consumer. What is their name? What's their gender? What do they do for work? Do they work? Do they have kids? Right? So that as we're building all of this, it feels like it's coming from your voice and your brand's voice. And it's not just a cookie cutter rinse and repeat of, the same sort of structure that was successful for another fitness concept. So it's incredibly high touch and it's incredibly customized. So we only take a handful of clients at one time for that very reason. But again, the goal is to allow you the freedom to focus on growing your business in the way that you want to, and to really be focused on the business versus being in the business, which so many of us are guilty of as small business owners.
And you help them get the studio fully staffed and also with their pricing.
Yes. And I would say those are the...
Yeah, I was going to say that's pretty important.
100%. And promotional strategy, right? So the goal is to move consumers into a recurring membership model so that you're less determine that your income isn't determinant on whatever special you're running, right? And you're not having to string along all of these discounts and promotions to try and make ends meet. Instead, it's the same members, their credit cards are hit on the same day every month. And obviously that's harder to sell. Of course it is. A 12-month or 3-month or whatever it is, monthly commitment is much harder to sell than a 3-class pack. But if we can really teach you to understand, or whoever's running that, whether it's your studio manager or your lead instructor, how to find that underlying goal and create that relationship, the recommendation really becomes almost a prescription. And we're not doctors, right? But we're looking out for their health, and they're looking to us and looking to you as advocates for their health. So they want you to make this recommendation. And if that's what you're recommending, you have the responsibility to do that. And so when it comes to promotional strategy, it's all about how can we increase value versus decreasing price point. So 90% of our clients, we're working with them to increase their price point of where they're at, and increase their average revenue per member or per client, so that anyone that does come through their doors is spending more than what they're spending today. So like I said, our kind of claim to fame is that 90% of our clients recoup their investment in us before they're even done working with us. And we work with clients for 90 days, for 12 weeks. And so promotional strategy and learning to sell and focusing on how can we squeeze as much revenue from each person that walks through the door, not because we're selling them, but because we're understanding how our product is going to help transform their lives. Again, that's really the heartbeat of what we offer.
Once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to our guest, Hensley, and she is the owner of the amazing company, Reboot Fitness Consulting. Go to the website, rebootfc.com. And we touched on sales, and let's dive deeper into that, because I know a studio owner who listens to this live. Let's get to the point. Sales is not just important. It's like you said, it's the heartbeat. If that heartbeat stop beating, there's some trouble coming pretty soon. So when it comes to the process of how you help the clients better strategize and make a system of sales, what are some of the key core ingredients in your approach to that process that you cater towards the selling process?
Yeah, great question again. I think the focus for so many of our clients who initially begin working with us is how can I get more people through the doors, right? If I can just get more leads, all of my financial woes will go away. And again, a majority of the time, it's not a lead issue. It's not a marketing issue. It's a conversion issue. It's a sales issue. And where that begins is the core of your product, your actual brand strategy. And what that means is your unique value proposition, right? What is it? Even if you're a cycling studio or you're a personal training gym and there's one right next to you, what's making your consumer come to you instead of visit your competitors? And a lot of that is asking them, right? What keeps you coming day in and day out? Who is that person? Are they, again, male, female, whatever it might be? But what is the emotion or feeling that they're looking to achieve that your service helps them get to? Because that's what we're selling as a transformation here, right? There is no tangible reason that we should be paying $200 for a fitness membership. You can walk around the block for free and lose weight or tone up or get fit. But if I can convince you through asking the questions and getting to know you that you want to feel more confident, or you want to feel more relaxed, or you want to feel more empowered, or you want to feel more balanced, then when I ask you, well, how much would feeling more balanced day to day, how much would that be worth to you? There is no monetary value, right? Like that's why like the diet industry exists. That's why there's so much emphasis on and commercialization of love and romance, is because there are these kind of abstract ideas and feelings that we can tap into and capitalize on. And ultimately, the better we can do at that, the more that we can charge. So from there, it's increasing our clients' confidence in their product and exactly what they offer, even if, again, it's a single bike in a concrete block. It's you, it's the people, it's the passion that you have, it's the ability for you to turn someone's day around when they walk through your doors. How can we capture that, again, in the calls and texts and email templates that we carry out, so that you're communicating this to those people before they even walk through the door? So from there, we graduate into growing sales confidence. So things like being able to pitch your price point after the trial offer. And if they push back with, I would love to, but I need to talk with my husband, how are you overcoming that objection? Or they say, let me get back to you, it's just a little too expensive. We're truly role playing that with you, because if you can role play it with us, you can absolutely do it with someone that you actually have a genuine relationship with. And only once we have that sales strategy in place, and that's the entire sequence of calls and texts and emails, and you're strong in the, getting of the emotional goal and the pitch and overcoming objections and asking for the referral. Only once that funnel is really solid, then we graduate to bringing more people through the doors, because at that point, you're converting much higher than you were 6 weeks ago. So the goal is that we're getting you from converting anywhere from like 10 to 15% of leads to ultimately, 20, 35, 40% of leads, depending on what your concept is. So brand strategy, then sales, then marketing.
Once again, talking to Hensley, the owner of Reboot Fitness Consulting. Go to the website, rebootfc.com. And speaking of sales conversions, and man, once they have that funnel, that's just the beginning, because they still got to work day in, day out. So with your team, let's kind of let people take some secrets from you. How do you keep your team encouraged to stay sharp? Because you have a brand yourself, you have a business yourself that you have to run. How do you keep your team sharp and just encouraged?
I think it's twofold. I think I was talking about this with someone last week. There's such a fine line between vulnerability and just putting it all on the table. No one wants to be on a sinking ship, right? And all of us as small business owners will go through financial ebbs and flows. And I think it's important that our teams are cognizant of that without feeling like they're not going to have a job tomorrow if we don't hit a certain revenue point or whatever it might be. But I think it also allows your employees to grow tighter and lean in and become more adaptable when you need them to wear certain hats, because gears have shifted and the business has different needs than it needed, 6 months ago. So I think being able to unemotionally share where the business is and what your goals are for the business in terms of next month, next quarter, next year, is incredible at creating buy-in. The other piece is just recognizing small wins, and not necessarily their wins, but client wins. I mean, we had a client who she got a positive review from a client publicly after increasing her prices. And the client said, for the experience that you offer within these four walls, I will gladly pay the additional $20 or $30 a month. And you multiply that across 100, 200 members, and she's getting an extra $2,000 a month from members who would gladly do so. So little things that I think we take for granted, that when we see clients implement their light bulb moments, is incredibly rewarding. And so slowing down in order to see those, I see the trees through the forest, so to speak, and really figure out how we can appreciate and recognize our clients, because ultimately that's what we do this for. And in turn, I think employees get, even more excited. I remember one of my employees now, she started with me as an intern, and a social and Instagram post that she had created for a smaller, now huge franchisor, was published, and it was published for, 100,000 plus followers. And she, as an intern, was able to say that she did that. And again, slowing down to be like, do you realize the gravity of that? That's huge. That's huge that they loved your work. They loved your messaging, that we understood their brand. We understood their consumer enough for them to push this at that scale. Again, she's obviously been with me for the past 2 years because of that. But I think that those tiny wins are often more important. In fact, I would say most of the time they're more important than the big wins we're recognized for publicly.
I like that. I'm going to ask this question. Hopefully it's not as loaded. With all your success that you have obviously obtained throughout your career, you spoke about the smaller wins. Well, yeah. What inspired you while you were growing up, right, to have the kind of mindset you have today?
Yeah, I also don't want to stand on this platform and pretend that I am hugely successful or that my definition of success is the same as yours, because I know there are plenty of you that are listening that are way more successful than me. And for me, success was ultimately being able to take a wider lens and look at how much work I was putting in and what I was getting out of it. And there's no such thing as work-life balance, right? But being able to water the other pieces of my garden in my life versus just devoting myself to work has been, I think, the most successful part for me. But that kind of goes back to where I learned this growing up was my parents. I mean, my parents were both blue collar growing up, and we were raised in a very upper middle class community, but they never let us lean on that, meaning that, I mean, I've had a job since I was 14 and I wasn't carpooled anywhere. You know, I rode my bike everywhere. And I went to the school that I went to because I got a scholarship. And after school, I graduated and drove across country and got a job working sales in Los Angeles. Like everything that I have has just been encouraged by my parents, but not given to myself or to any of us. And I think it's referrals and word of mouth would start. And so I've pounded pavement, and all of the things that we recommend to you, I've done myself. I've done myself as a business owner, and I've done myself as a 20-year-old selling gym memberships in Beverly Hills, California. That was way, way above what I should have been doing at that point. So I think having parents that always allowed me to, or encouraged me to toe the line and to be tenacious has given me that confidence and zealousness that has allowed me to be where I'm at.
Once again, listen to Refocus Radio, talking to Hensley, the owner of Reboot Fitness Consulting. And I'm going to say it because I always say it to my guests, but it's true. Y'all get on the show and make it sound and look so easy, but I know it's the opposite. But when you see how your team has gathered around your vision, right?
Yeah.
And they're helping you build your empire. I'm going to ask you a hard question, but I think it's necessary. We're approaching a new year, 2023, pretty soon. If you can take your business anywhere, any level, what's something that you are aiming to do in the new year for your business?
Yeah. Candidly, it's kind of similar to what our goal was for 2022. We're native to boutique fitness, but I really wanted to make sure that we had consistent, strong results that we could show before moving into any other wellness vertical. And so with that reputation that we had built within the boutique fitness industry, we moved into the cryotherapy recovery space. So think, IV therapy, float therapy, and at this point, that's about 40 to 50% of our portfolio, crazy enough. And everything has been applicable. Not everything has been identical, but everything has been applicable from boutique fitness to the cryo recovery space. And I think one could say sales is sales and marketing is marketing, right? So we've recently dipped our toes into the chiropractic space and had really similar results and feedback. physical therapy, and then med spa as well. So we'll always be rooted in wellness, and we'll always be focused on those high ticket, high value, service-based modalities. But expanding our definition of wellness, especially as the consumer's definition of wellness has evolved so drastically during and post COVID, that's our goal for 2023, is to just replicate what the same success we've found in fitness and now cryo and recovery, and take that into other wellness verticals. But I'm one of those rare entrepreneurs. I never wanted to be a business owner. I just wanted to work for myself. And I really take pride in the ability to know all of our clients on a first name basis and be able to jump on a call with them or text back and forth with them. And I never want us to get so big that, and we have had points where it's gotten that big and we've had to pull back, because that's not my version of success. And that's not where I want to take Reboot. I want this to be a tight, hands-on, very personal experience for our consumer, or not our consumers, for our clients. And so that's not what I want to do, but I do want to continue migrating into other wellness verticals where I know we'll find as much, if not more, success with the clients we work with there.
See, I had to jump in there because I felt the word coming. I knew he was going to pick that word. Because you said throughout the whole interview, if I had $1 for every time you said a client, I mean, I know your clients mean a lot to you now. And yes, I think a lot of people who want to explore the idea of being a business owner, I think we forget that word client. And a lot of things can be more transactional, where it's like, just pay me, and next. Last question for you. Why is it so important, just from your perspective, to really pay attention to the client and how they experience your service?
Because it will allow you to evolve your business in a way that your client actually needs versus what you think that they need. And I'll use an example. Like I mentioned, we started working with in the chiropractic space, and they have not a traditional sales funnel, right? Because it's medical based, but there is an opportunity to turn them into recurring members after they've finished their care plan and they're otherwise, in good health spinal wise. But have we not asked those questions of what is your client really looking for from you besides being healed, right? Are they also looking for X, Y, Z? I think slowing down in order to speed up, it's so cliche, but it's so necessary, because what you want from your business versus what your client needs from your business, we're always going to have to wrap our head and try and reconcile what those two things are and make sure that it's still something that we can deliver. And by no means am I saying, bend over and completely change your business model to meet that criteria. But I think it'll also allow them to teach us. And it's true, they teach us just as much as we teach them. And we've been able to evolve our business successfully because of them. And listen, the movement into cryotherapy and physical therapy and chiropractic was not intentional. It was all client referrals who said, I know you haven't done chiropractic yet, but I know for certain that you can help my fellow business owner friend, right? Or my neighbor, whatever it might be. And so I think, and we would have only been able to do that had we leaned in and really focused on the client first. It will benefit you long-term if you are client focused.
Perfect. Like Thanksgiving food is leftovers, man. I'm going to have to listen to this podcast myself. I think everything you said, it really, I think, can help just entrepreneurs in general. Because we all get entrepreneur fever when we go on social media and we see a poster with a, an inspirational quote, and all of a sudden we think we can make $1 billion in 24 hours. And everything you're saying is about choices that lead you to where you are today. And it's about your choices that you made that has gotten you to where you are. You had to choose to start Reboot Fitness Consulting. You had to choose your team. You had to choose the business model. And the point I'm trying to make, I know it's a long discussion, is that you made it happen. Because there's a buffet line of excuses that we all can take in life. But there's someone I had on the show, Michael Rappaport is the one that said it. He said, whatever industry you're in, don't dip your toes in. You have to jump in.
Yeah.
Because he said what happens is there's other people who are desperate, and you got to be more desperate than them.
Yeah.
So whatever it takes, whatever you have to learn, whatever you have to read, whatever mentor you need to get, in other words, jump in. And hearing you speak, yeah, you're not dipping your toes. And one last thing I ask you to say for all those entrepreneurs or those aspiring, thinking about it right now, like maybe one day I won't be an entrepreneur. Quick question. What words of wisdom would you say to them as far as taking everything that they do seriously? Because dipping your toes is not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah, I think whatever you decide to do, know that you're going to spend the most time you ever have on that, more than your family, more than your friends, more than your home. I mean, it's going to be your life. So you might as well be passionate about it. Otherwise, you're going to burn out and get bored really quickly. And I think that's probably why he mentioned, diving in head first versus dipping your toes in. And I'll expand upon that by saying, learn as much as you can and admit that you don't have all the answers. In fact, I think that makes you even more approachable to the consumer or the client because you're willing to admit that you're right there with them. I don't feel like I have any grounds to give recommendations because I didn't try to become an entrepreneur and I'm still figuring this out just like you guys are. But I think keeping in mind from the jump what you want your role to be in the business is huge, right? And that's part of why we've stayed small and nimble is because I do want to stay client facing. And that was a majority of the reason I started Reboot was because I wanted to be back on the ground level, interfacing with small business owners. And so prioritizing growth just for the sake of growth didn't fit my vision. But some of you might want to be the creative visionaries. Some of you might want to be the inventor and you don't want to sell, right? So having an idea of what you want your role to be is going to allow you to hire better because you know what holes you're hiring for. And two, I think it's going to keep you ignited and excited because then you're not just doing something that you're excited to stand behind, but that you're also excited to do for something that you stand behind. So that's my 2 cents.
I love it. Once again, the one and only Hensley, the founder and owner of Reboot Fitness Consulting. You want to go to the website rebootfc.com. Again, that's rebootfc.com. Man, I hope this inspires people because it inspired me. I'm not into this industry, but once again, I want to say thank you, Hensley, for taking time talking to us, not just about business, not just about your life story, but just everything you learned because it's obvious that you are a student of the game. And I know you eat humble pie a lot, but I'm going to say it for you, you're an expert in your field only because you show that you're open-minded to learn. And that is the best type of people to surround yourself with. So I hope everyone blows up your email, blows up your website. I hope you blow up even bigger than what you even thought you can ever do because that humble pie, man, must be delicious.
Well, thank you. And here's my one last parting thought is I think us as small business owners and entrepreneurs so often, and you too, right? Like we're in the eye of the storm and no one is recognizing and rewarding us on a daily basis. And it can be hard to feel like you're just putting one foot in front of another and not having anything to show for it. And so even if you just reach out to get that vote of confidence and know that there's someone in your corner, I'm happy to be there with you because I've been in that seat and we continue to be in those seats. So for all of you guys, regardless of where your business is at, just know I'm super proud of you and I mean that genuinely. And even if you're not in the health and wellness field, I hope you'll reach out and we can have a chat regardless.
So I'm giving everyone a homework assignment. Anybody who's an owner out there or anybody who's listening who has a friend who happens to be an owner and they need some consulting work, specifically in fitness, I have a perfect website you want to take a look at. You want to go to rebootfc.com, and you need to talk to Hensley and her team ASAP, because this interview was on fire, and I appreciate that. I want to say thanks to you, Hensley, once again for taking time in your schedule talking to Army Focus Radio.
Thanks for having me. I had a blast.